what I'd like to explore with you guys, I think is a crucial topic. I've touched on it before, but we'll see. I think it holds people back in their service to Hashem in a big way, especially when you are a business-orientated person and the exposure you get to a religious world is in the yeshiva, which is the normal way for a person to go. But yeshiva world has a specific purpose and a function for a person in their life. And it's very hard for a person who's going to be a working person to graduate out of that life into their life. Because just the way the system's set up, everything in that world is about Torah and about learning and about staying in learning and being there as long as you can and learning being everything in your life, which it is. But in a working person's life, it takes on a slightly different flavor and a slightly different tilt, and it's very hard for a person to get out of that. I'm speaking from personal experience. It's been a 20-year struggle for me to be able to actually live the life that Hashem wanted me to live in this world, with that as my background and my experience, and not always thinking that I should be an Avreich, I should be being Messiah, Masechta after Masechta every single year of my life, and trying to shift and move a framework. So I feel like these shiurim will share with you my journey a bit on how I've done that. I still battle with it. But touch on a very, very important topic. There's a medrash that says the following thing. It's very well known. I think you probably will know it. But it says that when Hashem created the world, at the end of creation, it says, Vayar Elokim et kol asher asa. Hashem looked at every single thing that He created. V'hinei, and behold, toiv ma'oid. It was very good. And does everyone know what the Medrash says on that? The Medrash says, Hinei toiv, behold, it was good. Slightly different case, I'm going to say the one that I know. Hinei toiv ze yetzer tov. That's the yetzer tov. So Hashem created the yetzer tov. Ma'od, very good. The ze yetzer hara. That's the yetzer hara. And the Medrash says you can call the yetzer hara very good. Now, all I've ever heard in my life is that yetzer hara is your enemy. Right? You've got to kill it, destroy it, shecht it. It stands in your way. That low-life manuvel that's only interested in this world, that doesn't interested in the world to come, and in mitzvahs, all it's interested is in. But there's a medrash that says something very, very different. It says Hashem looked at the entire creation in its totality. V'hinei, and then there's toiv with the yetzer tov. Ma'oid, very, very good. The yetzer hara. Now, what on earth does that mean? Now, the challenge of what I'm going to share with you is that if it remains a vort that you're going to say on your Shabbos table, but your pre-programmed ideas about the yetzer hara are what stick with you, you will never be able to move. Torah has to be able to reprogram your default, reprogram your brain, that you view things in a different way afterwards and you approach them differently. Are you with me? So I'm going to share with you, I think it's going to be revolutionary for you, but it's there. So let's get it clear. There's no such thing. I'm going to explain to you in my own words what I think the Medrash means, and then I actually show you the end of the Medrash. It's quite mind-blowing. But let's just go through the description that the Torah is saying in this medrash of the Yetzer Hara. It's not saying that the Yetzer Hara is brilliant. Because Ma'od has no meaning without the Tov. You are Tov Ma'od. It means what the medrash is telling you is there's this ability in this Yetzer Hara to take what's good about you and make it very good. It in of itself it's bad. It's a lowlife. But it has this unique capability to take the goodness in you and make it outstanding. That's what the Medrash is saying. There's a good part of you, there's a Yetzer Tov. But if you want to be Tov Ma'od, you need a bit of this Yetzer Hara, and it's going to make you incredible. But in and of, are you guys with me? So the Medrash is not saying that the Yetzer Hara is the best thing on earth. It's not a complete revolution of everything you've heard, but it's telling you that if utilized correctly, it can take the good inside of you and supersize it. I'm going to try and explain to you and give you a few examples how that works, and then hopefully a lot of Torah that you know, that you've heard, never really understood, will start to fall into place. But let me ask you this. I want some feedback, But why do you guys enjoy this share? Why do you come to this share? Why don't you go to shiurim in Melicha and Zvochim? It's also Torah, Go for half an hour shiurim in those. How come you come every week? You don't miss. You're so committed to the share. You enjoy it. Speaks to you. It's that little Yetzer Hara, boys. It is. There's a part of you that is so good. You want to learn. You want to have fixed times for learning. You really want to know Hashem's Torah. That's very good. But it's not good enough. If you just marry it with a little bit of Yetzer Hara, a little bit of love for money, interest in money, how to make money, how do you do, which is really interesting to your Yetzer Hara, and you put that together with your desire to know money, you get a group of guys who will never miss a share. But it's not the pure, only the love for Torah that's bringing you here. It's mainly, don't get me wrong, it's mainly. But what makes you consistent, what makes it interesting, what makes it different to another share is the Yetzer Hara. Now you are very good because you won't miss. If it was just that Yetzer Tov, you'd be an 80% consistency. And your enjoyment level, you do it because it's the right thing to do and you know it's important. It's the most invaluable thing in life. And I've got to stick to my kvias, and I've got to do all the right things. But the energy isn't there. It's not enough. There's not enough energy to keep you at it. And then you just put in this little bit of Yetzer Hara, that's topics about making money, and how you build a business, and and all of a sudden it becomes actually energizing to be involved in exactly the same thing. That, I think, is what this Medrash is saying. Hashem created in you a Yetzer Tov, a very pure part of you, which wants to do good, wants to connect to Hashem, but in and of itself, it doesn't have the energy on its own to keep you at it, at Avodas Hashem, especially the way we created. And so he added a brilliant part into you, which is the Yetzer Hara, which if you marry it together, then you get something which is an exceptional service to Hashem, very good, because it's the icing on top of the cake. It's like the Yetzer Tov is like this cake, but really you eat the cake for the icing, right? That's what I do. You just check the icing and what's inside. It's like it's true, right? So, but that icing is just what makes that cake so geschmack. The Yetzer Hara makes what's very good in life geschmack. And when you have those two things together, so then you have energy and momentum and movement in your service to Hashem. Now, I'll just say, I'm not sure if this is the pshat in this Rashi as well. Could be, I could hear definitely not, but it's potential. The Rashi says in the Shema that you should love Hashem b'chol levavecha. It's got two bets in there. So Rashi says you should love Hashem with two. What does it mean? B'chol levavecha, b'shnei yitzrecha, with both of your yitzros. B'yitzer tov, b'yitzer. Now, how do you serve Hashem with the yitzer hora? Shecht, kill, sacrifice, murder it, give it up. So that's one way to say. It could be a right. Could be the izmahalach of when you restrain from the things that your yitzer hora wants, and Hashem says no. That's serving Hashem with the yitzer hora, and I could hear that as being a pshat there for sure. I won't explain to you why I think that could be the pshat, but I think that could be there. But it could also mean exactly what we're saying here, that actually use your yitzer hora to propel you forward in your avodas Hashem. You've got to not ignore it and push it aside and cut it off and trying to get rid of it, but you've got to bring it into your avodas Hashem and use it as a catalyst to move you forward in serving Hashem, to keep you committed to learning, keep you committed to davening, keep you honest in business. That's what it means to serve Hashem with all of your drives. You've got a pure drive for goodness, and then you've got a drive, not calling it for bad, but for physicality. That drive for physicality can pull you totally out of service to God. But it can also be the icing on top, which pulls you deeper into service to Hashem and makes you serve Him with much, much more energy, vigor, commitment, and consistency. Okay. Now, it took me a long time to actually come to terms with this because I'm quite a black and white person. So I'm like, it's either this way or that way. I'm not a grayish person. This is a lot of gray, and it took me a while to actually see it. So what happened to me in my life is I went through periods where I gave up let's be honest. For me, my drive growing up was to make money. I have other drives that are low and are this worldly, but the overpowering one in my life was the one to make money. I also had an incredible love for Hashem from a very young age. Me and Hashem, honestly, we were best. I didn't have a secret, invisible friend on my shoulder. It was me and Hashem. We were like, tat. And I didn't keep kosher, Shabbos, nothing, but tat. I'm telling you, I used to grow up, that I've told you, I used to grow up thinking that everyone else has to keep the Torah, not me and Hashem. It's like, I'm going to the next world, I'm going to be with Hashem. You're like, it was a part of my everyday life. So it was a big, big part of me. And, but then, I grew up with, I'm not telling my life story, I didn't plan on telling you that, but there was at times in my life when I went, for example, when I left university to go to yeshiva, I let go of my drive for money. I thought I had to let go of it. It was a big risk. I was like basically throwing it away because I was going into that world. And then when I left yeshiva to come back to South Africa, a friend of mine said to me, Justin, or Shulik, I don't know what he called me at that time, I knew your yitzer hora for money would eventually get the better of you. You know? So it was like, then I felt like I was giving up the whole of the Torah world. It was these flip-flopping going between the two. And with time, I was able to see that actually, you know what, these things can live together. I love Hashem. And I love His Torah. And I think it's the greatest gift we ever got. But I also like making money. And I like being involved in business. And those two things are not austere to each other. They're not contradictory. They can be. Money can pull you out of spirituality completely. And spirituality can pull you out of money completely. But it doesn't have to. I don't think any of those two extremes are actually sustainable, good ways that you can remain motivated and committed to life. But you can put them together, and it gives you a very energized, healthy service to Hashem engaged in the physical world with aspirations for a deep connection to Hashem. And I actually think that's the natural way that Hashem built us. That's what the Medrash is saying. Hashem created Toiv is your Yetzer Tov, but you can make that Yetzer Tov Ma'oid very good. If you can marry the Yetzer simultaneously with it, you can be much, much better. So in my journey through my life, I'll tell you that I battled with, this is what I've battled with my whole life, is actually, since Yeshiva, getting this right. Because there's times when, I'm just speaking personally, but my drive for money gets the better of me. It goes too strong, takes you out of kilter, and I'll wake up one Rosh Hashanah, and I think what happened this year? What happened? Got totally lost in it. And then I have to recollaborate and pull myself together and rebuild my chavrusas and my shiurim that I gave up that year, and cut back on the traveling because it got out of hand, and pull it back together. And then there's times when I feel, I'll tell you, I went through a period about 6 months where I was so down in my service to Hashem, down. And the reason why I was down, it was very hard for me to actually energize myself, was because I was personally offended at how much of my commitment to Hashem was built on my love for money. I'd done a real honest cheshbon, and my commitment to tzedakah and my religious commitment to keeping my learning times. I was like a machine. But I thought I was like a servant in Hashem's army. I wasn't. I was a servant in the Yetzer army for money. And so it made me so disciplined and so committed and unwavering in my service to Hashem as being the vehicle for me to be blessed in my business. And I'm telling you, I could never have been like that if it wasn't for my drive for money. But I was in this black and white way of seeing my world. I got so depressed when I realized that it was money that was making me so religious. And so then I tried to cut that out, and I couldn't move. I couldn't keep up my learning. I couldn't keep up my davening. If it wasn't connected in some way to money, I lost so much of my momentum, and that saddened me. And I was sad that I thought wow, is this what it is? This is where you're at. After all these years, you actually still need this petrol to keep you going. And it was a long journey that for me. I'm just explaining just extracts if you don't mind. But after about 4 months, I phoned, I speak to a lot, but Rabbi Treger had spoken about and told him whatever. He'd come to visit in South Africa. I was going through that period. And after about 4 months, he said to me, and I'd basically come to this realization, and he said to me, Justin, I know why you were feeling the way you were feeling when I was in South Africa. So I said, why? He says, you're trying to be too pure. I said, Rabbi, why didn't you tell me that 4 months ago? You would have saved me so much pain. He said, you're trying to be too pure. So you lost your energy, you lost your momentum, you lost your drive. There was parts of your service to Hashem which were fueled by a petrol called your desire for money, which you tried to take out too much of it too quickly. And the car just died. The engine stopped working. So I began to realize that actually, no, this is the way our function is, they're not exclusionary. Just because I'm utilizing my desire to money to keep me in charity in a big way, that doesn't mean I don't want to give charity from a pure place too. That doesn't mean I don't want to help people. I do, but just not enough to keep me religious at it. So I need a bit of help that will make me spectacular in that mitzvah. And when I realized that, then I began to actually embrace the part of me which I before was trying to just cut out, and actually see that actually built me. It actually made me who I am today. And of course, I wanted to be purer and purer with time. But the sadness in service to Hashem is when I try to go purer than I am, And my disappointment in Avodas Hashem is when I let it get the better of me and don't let the pureness express itself enough. But it's that balance which I struggle with, which will be the struggle of my entire life, and you should be the struggle of your entire life as a working person. That is your service to Hashem. You trying to marry these two worlds which should pull you in opposite direction, and you're actually harnessing them to pull you in the same direction. That's incredible. That's what the Torah calls tiferes. It's like it's a splendor. It's like these things shouldn't go together, and let you bringing them together into your service to Hashem. That's what makes you a very good servant of Hashem, when you can live with the two together. And I think as a critique of the general education that we're given, is that we're pushed into a pure service to Hashem. Everything should be out of love. Everything should be lishmo, for the purest of motivations and intentions. And we just aren't that. And therefore you get a person, when you look at them, they don't look excited in their service to Hashem. Look at this. What is that? Because you sucked the energy out of the poor kid. You didn't speak to the part that they're energized by. So they're going ahead in the motions with just their Yetzer Tov, and it doesn't do the trick. It doesn't make them happy. It doesn't make them energized and fueled. You need to give them a little bit of an address of their interest into this physical world, and all of a sudden you get a sprightly person who's energized and wants to be engaged in service to Hashem. But our education world, I don't think, sophisticated enough to teach that. It's scared. It's scared of touching on these topics which are pasnish, like money and or whatever. There's stupid money, like it's Kashmirs. You don't go there. So you just get scared of it. You're not prepared to go. So then you don't address a very fundamental part of a person which could energize them tremendously. It takes guts to go there. It takes guts to marry the two. But the Torah tells you that those two together are tov ma'od. And if you leave one of them behind, you're either going to be a very unenergized robot. That's if you leave the Yetzer Hara behind. Or you're going to be a insanely lustful, into this world type of person with no interest in ruchnius. That's if you leave the Yetzer Tov behind. But you can have both. And the Tosfos, we'll learn it inside together with time, but Tosfos says the telltale sign of a Jew is that when the dreams of the Yetzer Hara weren't fulfilled through your mitzvahs, you're still happy you did the mitzvahs, because the real part of you is the Yetzer Tov. The Yetzer Hara was just an icing on the top to get you excited, but at your core, for example, let's not give an example, we'll go into it further. So I think that's just an introduction to the topic of actually trying to marry both parts of who you are and harness both of them to actually move in exactly the same direction to serve Hashem.